Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now essentially the middle of November of 2022, and with only a couple of episodes left for Star Wars Andor Season 1, a lot of Star Wars fans are really getting ready for the Bad Batch 2, Mando 3, Ahsoka, and a whole lot more on the table by Lucasfilm, and as of course, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni involved. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing that a lot of fans have been very much eager to see is, of course, the return of Star Wars movies, in which, by the way, Disney is currently creating a very major plan on how to really stretch things out with the Star Wars universe, both theatrically speaking, and of course, streaming-wise. You know, they want to make sure that they can create that balance between television and movies for the Star Wars franchise. They want to make it, by the way, as powerful as the Marvel Cinematic Universe when it comes to frequency of releases, both TV-wise and movie-wise. That's what Disney wants to eventually do. Now, with that being said, however, what's really exciting is exactly what Bob Chapek recently had to say about the Star Wars universe and what he had to say about the Star Wars fandom, how he feels about everything, and what their big plan is right now as we speak for, of course, the new Star Wars universe moving forward. Now, we already know that Bob Chapek has been very much involved with Jon and Dave's work and their overall strategy of how they're going to be borrowing elements from Star Wars Legends and all the other beloved aspects of the franchise, right? So that brings us to the next scenario here of what's been going on behind the scenes. Now, Chapek, of course, with Disney CEO Bob Chapek getting ready to make some big announcement at Star Wars Celebration next year, creators Jon and Dave are also gearing up to reveal some pretty exciting things for the franchise. However, in a recent interview, Bob Chapek went on to state the following to the fans, and apologize to the Star Wars community over this. Bob Chapek said the following: "We know that this fandom has supported George from the very beginning, and we here at Disney may have made some mistakes with this franchise the past couple of years. The one thing I always disagreed with Bob Iger was by creating a hiatus for Star Wars movies. When we look at this brand that has been seen around the globe for a very long time, we know that Star Wars belongs in the theaters. And I want to personally apologize to fans for the lack of theatrical releases on our part with this franchise. We may have made some announcements before in the past that never worked out, such as Rogue Squadron and the trilogy by the creators of Game of Thrones. But I am making sure now, without announcing any titles prematurely and too soon, that we are going to be bringing Star Wars back to the theaters every single year again in the very near future, as we realize Star Wars is not just a series of films, it's an event for fans to get together as one." Now, I want to pause here quick of what Chapek is saying before I get to the next bit. The thing about Star Wars movies that really threw off Bob Iger, and it was so misunderstood, is that Bob Iger kept on blaming the problem as a frequency issue. When Solo: A Star Wars Story failed at the box office, we all can never forget that, right? They lost so much money, it was just insane. Now, a lot of that had to do, by the way, with the fact that Kathleen Kennedy ordered 80% of the movie to be reshot, with Ron Howard coming in, replacing the initial creators to redo practically the whole movie. That's the main reason, still, to this day, why they lost money. It wasn't the movie itself, and it really didn't have all that much to do with the frequency issue. It was really a lack of momentum after The Last Jedi came out, and a lot of fans, believe it or not, were boycotting the Han Solo film, of course, you know, by Disney. And it's not that people didn't go out and see this movie, people got out and saw the movie. That's not a lie. What is a fact is that there were less repeat viewings. And what I mean by that is, there were practically very low numbers of people going ahead and seeing this movie 2 times, 3 times, maybe even 4 times out there, right? Most people only saw the movie once in theaters, maybe twice max. You know, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that below in the comments, by the way. How many times you saw Solo in the theaters compared to the sequel trilogy movies of Rogue One. Everybody that I know, casual fans and hardcore fans, saw all the sequel trilogy movies and even Rogue One itself, which by the way was a spin-off film as well, like Solo, all of which saw them at least 3 to 4 times because of their anticipation for those movies. It was after The Last Jedi where things kind of really fell apart, right? And when you look at everything like that, Bob Iger kept on blaming it as a frequency issue. Not the case. Moving on. So, Chapek goes on to say the following. And so I am deeply sorry that we excluded that magical feeling for just about 3 years now, but we are making sure that we will be exploring new films both theatrically and also our Disney Plus platform as well, to see how that works out for the community. We will keep developing our series, but we know the films are the main thing that we need to focus on again. Now, Chapek is right about this. I'm not saying here that TV shows for Star Wars are bad or that they're very lackluster, but let's be real about this. They're lower budget, they're shorter, they're not as marketed up as the movies would be, less people tune into them in comparison to the films. So I think that, yes, theatrically speaking is the answer. And that's what he's actually saying openly here, is that they have a plan to bring Star Wars back in theaters every single year again. And this falls directly in line with what we have been talking about, of how they are developing a episode 10, 11, and 12 behind the scenes. It's not going to begin production until 2026. They got a ways to go. But what they are also developing is an Old Republic trilogy, and on top of that, a new sequel trilogy in a sense that's going to be a Mandalorian trilogy, featuring those characters from the Mandoverse, that's going to arrive on Disney Plus. So basically we're going to be getting Mandalorian movies on Disney Plus, an Old Republic trilogy, the new Skywalker Saga films, and also on top of that, one-off single-driven Star Wars shows, or movies I should say. A great example is the new post-Episode 9 movie in the works that's going to actually tell new tales about the new Jedi Order and more. Now on top of this too, Chapek is also making it clear that he apologized for all of this. This was never his intention to create a hiatus. The hiatus, believe it or not, was pitched by Kathleen Kennedy to Bob Iger. Bob Iger approved the hiatus, alright? And she's the one that convinced him that it was a frequency issue. So in a way, it really wasn't technically Bob Iger's fault. I mean, yeah, it was to a degree, but Kathleen Kennedy was really the source of this, because she's the one that presented this idea to take a break from Star Wars for multiple years, movie-wise, and she presented it as a frequency issue to Bob Iger. Not the case again. It was all because of the lack of momentum for fans to get back into the theaters after The Last Jedi, and that was just a real thing, you know? Everybody I spoke to after they saw The Last Jedi refused to go ahead and see the Han Solo movie. And for those of you that did, it is an entertaining film, I will admit. It's not a bad movie, by any means. But it just didn't have that rewatch value as much. And a lot of it also had to do with that lack of momentum at the time. So overall, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. No hiding from night